Good afternoon. Did you get an action cam for Christmas? Or do you have an action cam that's still in a box sitting on top of your wardrobe because you haven't really been bothered to try and use it, and now you do? Well, watch on and I'll see if I can pass on a few tips.
So, you've got your shiny new action cam. Please don't just stick it on your handlebars and go for a ride. Your close family might say it's good, but they bought it for you and they have to get a return on it. With just a little bit of thought, you might make something that other people want to see too.
So most of these tips apply to any action camera, including GoPros, or even your mobile phone you can use. It doesn't really apply to if you have one of these 360 cameras, which are just incredible, but do leave a lot more for you to do in the editing room. And when you do pieces to camera, make sure you've got something to say. Also, make sure there's something vaguely interesting behind you, so that the 50% of viewers who aren't listening to a word you're saying have at least got something nice to look at. Generally, I like to keep the camera quite close in front of me so that it feels more like I'm having a proper conversation with you. Some people prefer it out here and to look across. But if you do that, be extremely careful which arm you're holding out. If you're holding it out into traffic and you get a close pass, well, it's certainly goodbye camera and it could be goodbye arm. The flip side of that is that you need to be aware of the sun and its position. Because if I hold it where I would normally be holding it, over here, the sun's directly behind me and you probably can't see my face, which might be a good thing. Other things, try and keep the camera as far away from you as possible. It just makes a better shot. These sorts of shots are all very well, but I don't think you really want to know what is up my nose. And the other thing, these sorts of shots, great if you've got cleavage, or better cleavage than mine anyway. Another little tip, if you're doing pieces to camera, you can wait until you're on a climb before you start recording. That way you have less wind noise. If you're like me, if you're going up a hill, it's 26%, I'm going really slow. No wind noise, not much puff for speaking either, but kind of everything. And then there are all the shots that I call interest shots. Now I stick these in just to break up the endless monotonous chat of my face. So interest shots could be anything you could think of. It could be, each time count to 3 or 4. Anything longer than that, it's just not interesting. So, over your head. Sock shot. I always put a sock shot in to thank my sponsors. No, they're not my sponsors. My unofficial sponsors, Altura. I'm wearing Altura socks today. Thanks, guys. Altura bib tights too. There's loads of these you can do. There's the through the front wheel. There's the through the back wheel. There's the shadow shot. Best ones are those if you can get the camera out of the way and you can't see the camera at all. It's a bit impromptu, I just happen to see my shadow. And also, always keep, I do it myself. I keep it too close to my face myself. But keep an eye out for anything that's going on. So this view is blooming gorgeous. Always be on the lookout for wildlife. They were ibex. They're wild goats. They're always here, to be fair, but I didn't know if I was going to see them or not, but that was nice. Other animals are also fair game. Kittens are best, but if you see kittens on the side of the road, you'll be stopping them and saving them. So donkeys, walrus, really anything you happen to notice. If you miss it when you first go by, just turn around and go back again. Get them in. Animals, baby animals. So do try to remember, if you've got a standard action cam, the field of view is huge, really huge. So if you see something and you think, oh, just take a shot of that, for me it's birds of prey, they might be quite close. Through the camera, they're tiny, tiny dots. Well, do remember that you can, in editing, you can crop the frame size to make them appear bigger. You might lose some definition, but at least your viewers will see what you saw.
This is the camera I use for filming everything. It's a Vantop Moment 6S, whatever that means. Well, I do know what it means. It means it can shoot at, well, it's a 4K 60, which means it can shoot 4,000 pixels at a frame rate of 60 per second. I shoot at 1080 at 30 frames per second, but that's just because I've got a slow internet. And by the time I've actually uploaded one of my videos, it can take about half an hour. So I'll try and keep the quality a bit lower, just so it's a bit quicker to upload. And the hairy bits you can see are just little bits of faux fur tape that I've made a hole in the middle of with a hole punch and glued over the microphones on the camera. There's two, one on the front, one on the side. But it massively decreases wind noise when you're trying to record. The only downside, if it's very windy, the hairs go in front of the lens. It looks like, well, it looks daft. So this camera was a gift from Leonard Lee, one of his old stock. It's about 3-4 years old, I think. It's got a touchscreen on the back. It's actually really good. And I was very, very grateful to have it. The one I had previously was, oh, I can't remember. It was about a 50 quid action cam, and the quality of this is massively different. The downside of this one is that the microphones, even without being covered with faux fur, is pretty poor quality. So it's a good idea to get an external mic if you're going to do lots of shots, say on your chest cam. You can use the external mic for that, and it does cut out a lot of the wind noise. I've got this mounted via it's a 1/4 inch threaded mount onto a piece that came with the kit that came with the camera, which is onto a standard GoPro mount, and that is onto this rather ungainly lump here, and that's so that I can quickly remove this bit and slot it into the chest cam, and then back onto this tripod. And this tripod is the best thing I've got, I think. It's absolutely fantastic. It means you can just set it down anywhere for shots, ride-bys in the road. You can also shove it in a tree, on the Armco, on the safety railing. It'll fit on that because it's bendy, and you can actually make sure it's at the right angle, whatever the surface. It's a really, really useful bit of kit. And it also, when you just squash it all together again, it's the handle, so I can actually do bits to camera. I really don't use a lot of other bits of kit. This again was it's just part of the kit that came with the camera. I think it's supposed to be on your wrist or something, and that just sits on the stem, and it's then just a very quick mount to shove the camera in, and you've got a stem stroke handlebar mount as well. I don't use it very often. I find it still quite wobbly. And the only other bit of kit I use is a chest harness, and I use that for all of my riding shots. Everything except the fastest of downhills, when you'll probably notice that I get a sort of a top tube cam effect. Because I crouch down low over the bike to go fast, it means that the camera gets obscured by the handlebars, and you just get a great shot of the top tube, and that's about it. But the only thing to say about the chest cam is that you fit the camera upside down, so that you can then adjust the angle. So if you imagine your chest is angled down like this, you can bring the camera up so you can actually get a decent view. If it was fitted the other way around, you can't actually get the angle sufficiently back enough so that when your chest is on that, when you've got your handlebars and your chest is leaning forwards, all you see are the handlebars. You don't get any view at all, and that's why you fit the camera upside down. And because the microphone in the camera isn't all that good, I've got an external mic on the chest mount so that it's got a wind baffle on it. It just makes it easier for me to actually record as I'm cycling along, clearer anyway. And it's not the prettiest, it's a little ungainly, but that is basically all I use. That just gets shoved in my pocket when I'm riding. I can then whip it out for just tracking shots of if I want to actually just hang on to it and record things. With a dance hall and all sorts, all the way up here. If you get somewhere with a spectacular view, show it off, get off your bike and do a nice slow panning shot. Let's talk about ride-bys. This is where you either ride towards the camera and out of shot, or you start out of shot and you ride into view and down the road. Or if you're feeling particularly professional, you can connect the two. Now, a few tips. Don't stop pedalling until you're well past the camera. Then you stop, you go back, you turn the camera to face down the road, and you ride back up the road. When you come past the camera for the second time, try to be in the same position on the bike with the same cadence as you were doing during the first clip as you come into view. And ride well past the camera. You could do some really nice editing if you do some really long approaches. But full ride-bys are a major pain. If you do solely approaches or departing shots, they're a lot easier. But try to do at least one full one each vid, as they're cool. Remember, don't stop pedaling. If you're going to do a single angle shot, once you've gone by, turn round and cycle past in the opposite direction. It's quick to do and it gives you some extra footage for another vid if you have the same weather and you're wearing the same kit. So have you ever wondered why I'm always in the same kit? Some other quick tips. Take 2 batteries, always. Shoot shorter clips where possible because it makes for easier editing. In the final cut, most clips only last 4 seconds, so you need lots of clips. Shorter clips make it easier to remember why you took that shot. On descents, it's safer to let it run, but if there is a long straight, stop and start recording so things are easier later, unless you intend to leave the whole descent in, but it does need to be an interesting descent. So already this video is too long. I haven't even begun to talk about editing yet. So editing is going to be a separate video. It's going to be dull, but it's what makes your videos great. So until next time, thanks for watching. And don't worry about stealing ideas either. This hand over camera shot was stolen from a fishing channel I watch.